Hi guys, so I'm going to do a collab right now, and it is about my parenting style, and it's a YouTube Mommy Meetup collab. Renee Vanna created the topic and also the questions for all of us to answer. And I'm going to put a disclaimer out. I'm sure a lot of us will be doing disclaimers. We are all probably describing parenting styles that are very different from other people's parenting styles. But whatever parenting style is being described is what is best for our family. That's what I'm going to leave it as. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you've been with me for a while, then yay, welcome back. But for those that are new to my channel, I just wanted to do a quick kind of rundown of what my family looks like. So I have 10-year-old boy-girl twins and also a 21-year-old. My 21-year-old young lady now, she is actually my stepdaughter. She's my ex-husband's oldest daughter, but I don't like referring to her as my stepdaughter. She's my oldest, right? So she's part of the family. She's one of my three. So it's, that's who we are as a family. So in this, and I am actually just kind of looking off to the side here because that's where the questions are, so I apologize for that. There are 3 topics and 3 specific questions as well. So, and I should also mention that this collab was actually created by Renee Vanna, and I will put her YouTube channel link in the description box below. Apparently that was hard for me to say. Anyway, so let's just get started. The first, there's 3 questions and then 3 topics. So the first question is, do you identify with one of the 4 parenting styles? Are you a mix of all of them, or just... So number 1, do you identify with one of the 4 parenting styles, or are you a mix of some of them? So I will leave a link in the description below of the 4 parenting styles. Ironically, I actually had to study these this past semester for the course that I took last semester, and because it was about doing social work with children and youth. So the 4 parenting styles listed are authoritative, authoritarian, permissive, and uninvolved. So I think of those 4, I most identify with authoritarian, with a little bit of permissive, I'll be honest. But just to kind of describe a little bit of the authoritative parenting styles, it is that they establish rules and guidelines that their children are expected to follow. However, this parenting style is much more democratic than authoritarian. Authoritative parents are responsive to their children and are willing to listen to questions. When children fail to meet the expectations, these parents are more nurturing and forgiving rather than punishing. So that, I would say, is much more my type of parenting. Now, it does actually also depend on the child. My son has severe, whatever that is, severe autism. So parenting him is different than parenting the girls. And I mean, my oldest is 21. She's a young lady. She's an adult. They're, basically finish your school, and I'm a happy camper. But definitely of the 4 parenting styles, I would say that I'm more in the authoritarian end of things. Number 2 is, which parenting style did you grow up with? If it's different from yours, why is your style different from that of your parents? So I definitely grew up in an authoritative household. Very, very strict, very task-oriented, lots of chores. but also lots of freedom as well. Now, there was a difference between my brother and I because I was a straight A student and I followed rules, and I had a part-time job all throughout high school, and I mean, I was a part of the band, for crying out loud. I was a geek, nerd, whatever you want to call it. Sure, we had our issues, but overall, I mean, it wasn't that bad of a kid. But there was definitely, law of the land in our household. And, yes, there was a little bit of Saturday morning chore or Saturday morning cartoons, but then after that, it was the rest of the day was doing different tasks around the house, outside of the house, around the property, sun up to sundown kind of thing. Like, the expectation was hard work. At the time, kind of sucked. I really kind of just wanted to go play with my friends. But I did get to do that as well. If there was a play date scheduled or if there was an overnight scheduled or whatever, that was fine. It was easy to accommodate. But for the most part, it was very, we were known as in the family with the strict rules. As I've gotten older, the rules are much more relaxed. It's much more, relaxed feeling in the family. But, and also as I've gotten older, I found out since becoming an adult that other parents in the small town actually threatened to send their misbehaving children to our home when they were misbehaving so that they could learn hard work. So take what you will of that. But as much as it kind of sucked as a kid, it also taught me the value of hard work, and I can be a bit of a workaholic, especially when I worked outside the home. But it just, I think it did lay a good groundwork for me. With my children's various special needs, because yes, my son has autism. My oldest has Asperger's and misophonia. My youngest, so my daughter's youngest, has anxiety disorder. So that has kind of changed how I expected to parent. Like, I expected to be a fairly strict, regulated parent, but autism taught me a lot. We'll just say that. I guess it kind of actually relates to number 3. Are you happy with the way you parent your children, or do you want to change things up, and why? So, as I said, I did actually expect to be a much more strict parent. When the twins were really little, I was very strict on different schedules and everything. But I was also working outside the home at the time too, so that made it a little bit more difficult. But then the schedules and maintaining that kind of balance, which is not like a healthy balance, it was more of a, if I let anything go, then the whole thing is going to crumble. So when my son was diagnosed with autism, that pretty much changed our world. And I went from type A workaholic outside the home to stay-at-home parent, where I was then managing all of his appointments and his therapies and getting him to and from therapies and all this, and spending the first couple years in school where like in senior kindergarten, for example, he went to school 3 days a week for half days, which was 2.5 hours, and I'd have to go pick him up 2 of the 3 days because they couldn't handle him. Fast forward to now, where he's in an autism-specific class in school, and I've received a phone call twice this school year saying, today is really not going well, but give us a half hour to see if we can actually get it under control. And with them actually calling, I'm like, oh geez, and on the edge of my seat waiting for the second phone call to come get him, because they've dealt with so much and a lot of his behaviors and everything, that there are days that I was surprised actually getting either the email at the end of the day or reading it in his day timer, that they did not call me so to come and help or pick him up. So That kind of it's really, really transformed my parenting. Because our reality and our normal, whatever that is, looks very different from basically everybody else's households. So they also, as part of this, just kind of Renee gave kind of three broad topics to talk about. And one is attachments, with, examples of co-sleeping, crying, daycare, school, etc. So we did not co-sleep because I had two babies. There just wasn't enough space for all of us in the bed. But I would, if one of them was having trouble going to sleep, then I would bring them into my bed and lie with them, and they'd go to sleep really quickly. But we really never had any problems transferring them or having them in the cribs. It really wasn't ever a problem. I thought because initially they were so little, that initially we had them in the same crib so that it was just easier from a parenting standpoint for me, to have them both there. I thought there might be more of an issue to move from both in one crib to separate cribs, but there was no problems there. We didn't have to do like the cry out method or anything like that. My kids have always been pretty good sleepers, until autism really kicked in, and then my son would sleep for like 3 hours a night, and that was it. But when they were babies, I could set the clock to my son. He woke up every 3 hours to the minute to feed for a year and a half. Period. Speaking of feeding, I breastfed, although I had to pump, because my milk actually didn't come in for 5 days. And when it came in, oh my goodness, it hurt. But then I attached a baby and everything was fine. But by the time my milk had come in, they didn't really know what to do. So, and they'd already been feeding from bottles. So I pumped for a year, and they had breast milk for all but one of the feeds every day. So the 9 o'clock at night feed was formula. Let's see, daycare. Yes, they were in daycare. I stayed home for 3 months, and I did not have top up or any kind of benefits like that for mine, because here in Canada we actually have a year-long maternity leave. But my then husband, because I'm now divorced, had top up at his work. So I stayed home for 3 months, and then he stayed home for 6 or 7 months, somewhere around there, and then he went back to work as well. So, and I worked part-time then. So, and we actually, when that happened, had gone through a few home-based daycares for a few months after that, and then finally, after like 3 of them fell through because they all decided to go back to work, I just threw up my hands and said, that's it, we're getting a live-out nanny. So we did that. It was the same cost because it's 2 babies, as it was for doing private daycare. And then she actually started talking about how my son, there was something going on and it might be autism, but my ex-husband, who was my then husband, had actually already mentioned it as a possibility. And she's like, you know what, I think he needs to be in a more social atmosphere. So that's when they then went into daycare. School, my daughter started school at JK, junior kindergarten. My son was not ready yet, so he started in senior kindergarten. Then in senior kindergarten, he was in mainstream school, so regular school, and it was a disaster. The principal actually told us that she was an expert in autism because she had taken a 3-hour course. We're just going to leave that there. Grade 1, he was in a special needs specific class, but part of the time because he was also in what's called IBI therapy, which is intensive behavioral intervention therapy, which is a whole bunch of different therapies for 24 hours a week, and according to the Ministry of Education was his primary education for the next couple of years. So he went there 3 days a week, and then he went to school 2 days a week in a special needs specific class. When he finished IBI therapy after 2.5 years, he then went into an autism specific class in a regular public school. Meanwhile, my daughter's been in regular school. And my oldest just finished second year university, so go figure. Let's see, the second kind of topic to discuss is activities. And there's suggestions of like ear piercing, playgrounds, amusement parks, water parks, etc., etc. My daughter just got her ears pierced last year, and we actually had to do it twice because the first time just didn't work. Infection. So then we went and did it a second time, and she loves having her ears pierced and changing her earrings, and she can't wait. I can't wait until I'm old enough for Mommy to wear long, dangly earrings like you do. It's so cute. Let's see. Playgrounds we go to. Most of our summer, of kind of the 5, like Monday to Friday days of the week, we are at the playground at least 3 to 4 of those days. If we aren't, it's because I've already scheduled play dates at people's homes or with us at our home. And usually if it's at our home, then we go to the park anyway. Amusement parks we have gone to. It's difficult with my son, but ironically, for example, we went to Canada's Wonderland a few years ago now. And it was my son, my daughter, and a few other like family friends' kids as well. The 4 other children that are typical children were completely done by mid-afternoon. They were whining. They were, we just wanted to like duct tape them all. I'm kidding, but you know what I mean. My son, absolutely fine, perfectly happy, doing his thing. And here we'd been preparing for him to melt down all day long. But no, it was the other 4 kids. So, kind of felt good that day. But typically we don't really do amusement parks unless they're right close by, because if there is a problem and if he does have a meltdown, and especially now with his newest behavior that's been going on since last fall of him jumping out of cars when they're moving, not a very safe plan to do. Water parks, both of my girls are absolute fish. My youngest would spend all of her time in a pool or at a water park if she could. My son prefers like splash pads, but he also has, like, we do have a couple friends of ours that have pools for their homes, and he loves going in those. There's one of them, it comes up, the water came up to like his, just like about his shoulders last year, so now it's probably like down to his elbows or something because he's growing way too fast. And he would spend the like 4 or 5 hours that we were there just walking around in circles in this pool. He'd be exhausted afterwards, but it was just so funny. So this is what he does when we go to their place. So we don't actually have, like, I don't have them enrolled in any sports per se. And primarily right now it's, again, because my son likes to jump out of moving vehicles. But my daughter does want to go in for swimming lessons again this year. Oh, but she is also in karate on Saturday mornings. So, and she loves that. So the third topic is punishments. And I don't even like the word punishment. I really don't have to do much for my daughter other than if something's going on, or it's more that she hasn't done something that she knows she needs to. You know, she knows that what the after school routine is. If she doesn't do it, you know, then I just remind her that if she keeps not doing it, then she will have privileges taken away. Privileges such as going, frankly, to my boyfriend's house and playing with his son, and or, you know, going and playing with the neighbor's kids, or, you know, the freedoms that she does have, because overall she pretty much, she knows the rules, she follows them. My son, I need to determine whether it's an autistic behavior versus a kid behavior. Sometimes I get them wrong. I will admit that. But overall, basically, you know, even just reminding him that if he keeps doing whatever he's doing, he will get a timeout. And he says, no, please. And then he corrects the behavior. But there are some days where it's constant timeouts because he just can't control his impulses. Now, if there's an autistic meltdown, totally different story. We just have to keep everybody safe and deal with that separately, because that's not a chosen behavior. That is an overstimulus of them over-processing the situation around them, and they have no control over it whatsoever. So there is my rambling, I guess, about my parenting styles. They work for our family. I'd love to hear what your parenting styles are. And also, if you've done this collab, then please leave it in the link below. I'd love to watch yours. I will also include a link in the description box of the playlist of everybody that is doing this collab. And if you have any questions based off of what I've said in this video, then please feel free to ask away. So anyways, I hope to see you guys soon, and we'll talk to you later. Oh, and don't forget to like and comment and subscribe as well, please. Bye, guys.